24th post-cabinet press briefing. Allow me to invite the chairperson of this session, the Honorable Minister of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, to present today's cabinet highlights. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. Allow me to once again acknowledge the presence of honorable ministers, senior government officials, members of the Fourth Estate. Today, the 21st of July 2026, His Excellency the President, Comrade Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, chaired the 24th Cabinet meeting, and the following issues, among others, were considered and approved. Cabinet received an update report on the repatriation and reintegration of Zimbabwean nationals returning from the Republic of South Africa, which was presented by the Minister of Local Government and Public Works as the chairperson of the Cabinet Committee on Environment, Emergency Preparedness and Disaster Management. The nation is being informed that the repatriation of Zimbabweans returning from South Africa is ongoing, with government and its partners continuing to support safe, orderly, and dignified return. As at 18 July 2026, a total of 33,855 retainees had been repatriated through government arrangements, while an estimated 74,511 had self-repatriated, bringing the total number of retainees to over 108,000. Additionally, a cumulative 791 self-repatriations have been recorded through Botswana entry points, namely Plumtree, Fowengs, Maitengwe, and Mlambapele. The nation is being informed that to date, a total of 416 bus trips have been undertaken to facilitate transportation of retainees from the Beitbridge Repatriation Center. The Beitbridge Reception Center Clinic continues to provide comprehensive health care, having attended to 1,474 retainees for various medical needs. It is observed that to date, Harare Metropolitan Province has received the highest number of retainees, followed by Manicaland, Midlands, and Bulawayo provinces, respectively. Government has adopted a three-pronged reintegration approach, prioritizing social, economic, and cultural reintegration to support sustainable reintegration of retainees into their communities. To this end, the skills registration process is ongoing, with a total of 15,065 retainees having been registered across 52 identified occupations. The majority of skills are related to domestic work, bricklaying, and farming. Government security arms continue to strengthen screening and surveillance, including all foreigners passing through the country's entry points. Cabinet received update reports regarding preparations for the 2026 Heroes Day commemorations and the Defense Forces Day celebrations to be held on the 10th and 11th of August 2026, respectively. The nation is informed that preparations for the holding of the two events is at an advanced stage. Concerning Heroes Day commemorations, the nation is being informed that the main event will be held at the National Heroes Acre, with gatherings at each of the 10 provincial Heroes Acres and 60 district Heroes Acres. The theme of the commemorations is, and I quote, "Lest we forget," close quote. The public is being informed that logistical and administrative preparations are ongoing at the various levels of government in order to ensure successful commemorations in honor of the gallant sons and daughters who selflessly gave their lives to liberate Zimbabwe. A fleet of 162 buses will be deployed across the country to assist in transporting relatives of heroes and heroines to attend the event at the respective shrines. All citizens are therefore invited to join His Excellency the President, Comrade Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, and the entire nation to commemorate the 2026 Heroes Day. The 2026 Defense Forces Day celebrations will be held on the 11th of August 2026 at Rufaro Stadium for the main event, and at each of the country's provincial centers under the theme, and I quote, ZDF guaranteeing peace and stability for the attainment of Vision 2030, close quote. As per tradition, ZDF will undertake a program on the Community Assistance Week from the 27th to the 31st of July 2026. During the period, projects which were completed in collaboration with partners will be handed over to beneficiaries. The projects include the following: Nikita Mangena Clinic in Mwenezi District, Masvingo Province; Wunga Clinic in Beitbridge District, that's Matabeleland South Province; the Civil Registry Office in Buhera District in Manicaland Province; and Hallingbury Primary School, ECD and ICT Complex in Maberrain, Harare Metropolitan Province. The major highlights of the Defense Forces Day celebration program will include the keynote address by the guest of honor, His Excellency the President, Comrade Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, a military parade mounted by the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, and a variety of entertainment encompassing military displays and performances by artists like Sulumani Shimbetu, Kona Ngale, Jah Praiser, and Air Power Band, among others. The program will conclude with a soccer match between the Zimbabwe Defense Forces select team and the Namibian Defense Forces select team. Cabinet noted and approved the update on the 2025-2026 summer crops marketing and 2026 winter plan as presented by the Minister of Agriculture, Mechanization and Water Resource Development, Honorable Dr. Anxious Jongwe Masuka. The updated report shows outcomes of estimated crop, livestock, and fisheries production for the 2025-2026 summer season as per the following highlights. 1. Strategic grain stocks at Grain Marketing Board are currently 227,338 metric tons, comprising maize, traditional grains, and wheat. Number 2, GMB deliveries are 139% above last year, with other contributing 90% of the grain deliveries. Number 3, regarding payment for 2025-2026 deliveries, payments of United States 19,482,652.48 and ZIG 135,179,969.79 have been made, leaving an outstanding balance of ZIG 81.4 million and $7.4 million US. GMB holds 70,015 metric tons of third-party grain stocks since the completion of the artificial intelligence-powered silos and subsequent offering of commercial stock services, storage services directly or through the warehouse receipt system. The total maize area planted increased from 1,813,974 hectares in 2025 to 1,963,292 hectares in the 2025-2026 season, representing an 8.23% increase, while total production also increased from 2,293,556 metric tons to 2,685,021 metric tons, giving an overall growth of 17.1%. Pertaining to tobacco, a total of 354 million kilograms of tobacco had been sold as at the 16th of July 2026 at an average price of US dollars 2.49 per kilogram. Cumulative tobacco exports amounted to 121.8 million kilograms, valued at US dollars 723.5 million, with an average export price of US dollars $5.94 per kilogram. The winter wheat area planted is 106% of the targeted area compared to 101% of the targeted area planted at the same time last year. ADA has planted 65,585 hectares, surpassing the initial target of 65,000 hectares by 0.09%. Cabinet considered and noted the progress in agriculture from 1980 to 2025, as reported by the Minister of Agriculture, Mechanization and Water Resource Development, Honorable A.J. Masuka. Since independence in 1980, Zimbabwe's agricultural sector has undergone profound transformation from a productive commercial powerhouse between 1980 to 1995 to a sector marked by volatility and structural disruption between 1995 and 2013. Recovery and resilience building between 2013 and 2016, and growth from 2017 to date. The sector employs 70% of the population and remains the bedrock of Zimbabwe's economy. The implementation of the Agriculture, Food Systems and Rural Transformation Strategy #1 between 2020 and 2025 has seen Zimbabwe's agriculture sector recording significant growth. Strategic novel interventions implemented by the Second Republic include: 1. The Pfumvudza Intwasa Conservation Agriculture Model targeting 100% adoption by 2026. 2. The Accelerated Irrigation Rehabilitation and Development Plan. 3. The National Enhanced Agriculture Productivity Scheme, replacing Command Agriculture. 4. A refined Presidential Inputs Program. 5. Farm Title Deeds Program of 2024, providing bankable title deeds to A1 and A2 farmers. 6. Compensation framework for former farm owners, that was done in 2020. 7. Agriculture, Food Systems and Rural Transformation Strategy. 2. 8. Structured market liberalization to crowd in private sector financing. 9. Accelerated mechanization, through which the operational tractor fleet grew from 4,466 in 2015 to 16,350 in 2025. 10. Strategic grain storage expansion through constructing AI-powered silos. And point 11, attention to livestock diseases, pastures, and genetics. And 11, expansion of the irrigation area expanded from 171,000 hectares in 2020 to 258,773 hectares in 2026, a 521% increase in 5 years, compared to 150,000 hectares in 1980 to 171,000 hectares in 2020, which was a 14% increase achieved in 40 years. Maize remains the cornerstone of national food security, with production yields under Pfumvudza being higher than the conventional practice. The 2025 wheat season represents the highest wheat output and the largest GMB procurement volume in Zimbabwe's history. The Second Republic has deliberately shifted from soybean as an oilseed crop to a feed crop in order to release more land for maize, while promoting the use of sunflower and cotton as oilseed crops. Soybean has 18% crude protein compared to sunflower's 30%. Tobacco production increased from 48.8 million kilograms in 2008 to 354.9 kilograms in 2025. The transformation was driven by smallholder farmers after the land reform program and contract farming arrangements. The national herd declined from a peak of 6.2 million in 1991 to a low of 4.1 million cattle in 1994 before recovering to 5.7 million in 2025. However, government interventions averted mass cattle deaths. Milk production increased from about 70 million liters to 152 million liters in 2025, of which 122 million liters was commercial production. Broiler production has increased threefold to 160 million, while egg production has increased to over 100 million dozen of eggs. Due to climate change, Zimbabwe is predicted to become drier in the decades ahead, manifesting as shortened rainfall seasons, uneven rainfall distribution, heightened temperatures, and increased pest and disease pressure. Farmers are therefore encouraged to practice smart agriculture interventions in Pfumvudza, Intwasa, and irrigation according to their ecological zones. Cabinet noted an updated report on preparations for the commissioning of the Josiah Magama Tongogara Monument and Health Center in Masinga district of Nyambane province in Mozambique. The late General Josiah Magama Tongogara perished in a road traffic accident at Magakala village in Masinga district on the 26th of December 1979 while traveling from Maputo to Chimoyo. The construction of the monument and the health center are part of continuing efforts to recognize and immortalize the immense contribution of the late general. The nation is being informed that construction of the center has since been completed, including an outpatient block, 3 staff quarters, and a maternity block, which were constructed by the government of Zimbabwe, while the government of Mozambique constructed an administration block, a waiting mother's shelter, and a laundry facility. The project is ready for commissioning, and the amenities are expected to transform the livelihoods of the local Mozambican communities which assisted during Zimbabwe's War of Liberation through access to a modern health facility. Cabinet considered and noted the report of the unilateral zero-tariff preferential market access offered by the People's Republic of China as presented by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Honorable A. Murwira. During the 2024 Forum of China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, the People's Republic of China announced a unilateral zero-tariff preferential market access for African countries, namely the Pre-Early Harvest Initiative. Under this arrangement, effective 1 May 2026, qualifying Zimbabwean products can enter the Chinese market duty-free under 8,949 tariff lines for a period of 2 years ending on the 30th of April 2028. In response, Zimbabwe has fulfilled the administrative requirements necessary to participate in this arrangement. Already, Zimtrade has been designated to issue certificates of origin, while Zimbra verifies compliance with the rules of origin. In view of the 2-year lapse, African countries have to negotiate for longer-term partnerships agreements that will offer similar or near similar benefits with the People's Republic of China. Zimbabwe has started internal processes as a preparatory stage for negotiations with China after the expiry of the Pre-Early Harvest Initiative in April 2028. Upon successful conclusion of negotiations, Zimbabwe will secure continued preferential market access beyond April 2028, create greater certainty for exporters and investors, expand market access for new agricultural and value-added products, and strengthen its position on the Chinese market. Cabinet noted the report on the Vice President Mohadi's visit to the 2026 International Art Exhibition Venice Biennale in Italy from 13 to 17 July 2026. The visit provided an opportunity to promote Zimbabwe's cultural diplomacy and engage the diplomatic mission accredited to Italy on trade, investment, and key bilateral issues aimed at further strengthening relations between Zimbabwe and Italy. The Biennale has evolved into a well-organized global cultural industry and one of Italy's premier tourist attractions, generating substantial economic benefits in the services sector. The event demonstrated how investment in culture can stimulate tourism, create employment, and contribute meaningfully to national economic development. Cabinet considered and approved the Memorandum of Understanding between the Republic of Zimbabwe and the Republic of South Africa on bilateral cooperation in the fields of women empowerment and gender equality, as presented by the Acting Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Honorable Kazembe Kazembe. The Republic of Zimbabwe and the Republic of South Africa share a common historical, social, and economic fabric. The Memorandum of Understanding provides a binding or guiding framework to consolidate, develop, and structure sustainable collaboration on gender equality and women empowerment. By formalizing cooperation with South Africa, Zimbabwe stands to gain access to best practices in mechanisms for gender-based violence prevention and response, domestic financing, gender accountability systems, financing for women-owned small and medium enterprises, and technology transfer for women in key economic sectors. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for presenting today's cabinet highlights. We now move to the first round of 3 questions. Then we ask the relevant minister to respond. Over to you.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. My name is Owen Mandova from ZBC. I've got 3 questions. The first one is directed to the Minister of Local Government, Honorable Daniel Gary, regarding the returnees. It seems the pressure continues in South Africa by different activist groups for foreigners to continue to go back to their home countries. To what extent has government estimated the number of people that they are expecting to receive from South Africa as the wave continues to take place, and the capacity of this country to receive those people? I just want the number that they think they will be receiving from such. Then the second question is to the Minister, Professor Morira, on the unilateral zero tariff program extended to Zimbabwe. Which products are covered under this framework? And also in relation to opportunities for local exporters, what opportunities exist? But also most importantly, looking at the national exports growth strategy, how do you think that this development is going to sustain our own the national exports growth strategy? Then my last question is to the Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Masuka. There is I don't know whether it's worrying or not, but regarding the deliveries of maize to the GMB, 90%, as you said, is, as read by the minister, is coming from ADA, which is a very, very big number from ADA. But I don't know whether should we celebrate it or not, because it looks like deliveries from our local farmers are quite subdued. So is this the transformation of ADA to become a key producer of our grain, or I don't know, but my question basically is on the limited deliveries from our own local farmers. These are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Chen Williams from AMH, and my question is directed to the Ministry of Agriculture. It's in line with climate change and smart agriculture innovation. Which crops will be prioritized in the 2026 to 2027 under the climate-proofed agriculture and food systems strategy, and why?
Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. First question from Owen Mandova is directed to the Minister of Local Government. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Let me thank Mr. Owen Mandova for his question. We may need to understand that we have about 2 million Zimbabweans in the Republic of South Africa, with 1.5 million having documentation, and it's estimated about 500,000 without any documentation. So government is not working on a specific figure of Zimbabwe nationals coming back home. It's working on a structure to receive Zimbabweans who also wish to come back home, given the disturbances that are taking place in the Republic of South Africa. So I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Second question from Owen Mandova, directed to Prof. Murwira. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Owen, for the question about which products are covered. We have got over 8,000 tariff lines that are open or to zero tariff by the People's Republic of China. What is happening is that in China, when our products go to China, the Chinese market is the one which is removing tariffs for our products so that they become cheaper. That's why it is called preferential market access. It means our products will be cheaper in China after duties having been removed. So there are a lot of products, but it doesn't mean that when we are sending these products, they are not subject to regulations. We still have to meet the conditions of each and every product. As you know, our latest qualification was for blueberries. We had one for avocados. So we still have to do the qualification. It doesn't basically mean we are mostly there are rules that we still have to follow with the People's Republic of China. It will benefit our exporters in a great way, those who qualify. Because just imagine, the People's Republic of China has got 1.4 billion consumers. So we will be selling to 1.4 billion, plus also 1.4 billion of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. This is an expanded market access. However, the zero tariff unilateral one is going to end on 30 April 2028. But before this ends, after that there is a new regime that will be followed, which we have to start negotiating now. So we are doing exactly that. But what is very important is that the Chinese market for these 2 years is open to us. But it doesn't all of a sudden mean everything has to will be able to qualify. We still have to meet the conditions. But all those who qualify have access to a market of 1.4 billion people, which is big because we believe that markets drive production. When you know that you have got your goods have a market, we expect it to stimulate a lot of production in Zimbabwe because the market is assured. And we want to make that market assured beyond 2028 by making sure that we have done our negotiations, just like we do with any other country where we want to enter a trade agreement with. So this is what we have, on the table. So we are looking forward to increase production in Zimbabwe because of this increased market access by the People's Republic of China. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Masuka, you have 2 questions, one from Owen Mandova and the other one from Chen. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chair, and I thank Owen Mandova for the question. The question is looking at ADA, whether that 90% delivery into the GMB does not create a concentration risk. But if we just step back and look at the market structure within the Zimbabwe agricultural sector, with the period to 2019, where we had the marketing monopoly through the GMB. So it meant that all maize or any other designated crop for that matter would go first into the GMB, and off-takers would have to purchase from the GMB. So if you were a miller, you'd have to purchase from the GMB mill and sell to people. So under the Second Republic, the thinking and the right one has been the taxpayers' money must not be used to sustain private commercial operations. So we introduced the structured market liberalization to crowd in the private sector financing, and we created 5 categories of contracting in the country, where we said we would have first command now, the National Enhanced Agricultural Productivity Scheme, mediated by AFC, CBZ, and NMB, and they contract and purchase that, what they've contracted and sell to best advantage. We said the private sector itself must come in and contract. So as an example, if you were a miller, instead of going to the GMB, you now go direct to the farmers and contract them and purchase, and you may use the GMB storage facilities or your own. Then we also have what we called the self-financed. Those that mainly in communal areas that go and purchase their seed and plant, and for purposes of selling, we said they can sell to best advantage. But then we need an angle and a supply route that is secure for the strategic grain reserve for purposes of ensuring that there is adequate supply into social welfare should there be a requirement, which is why Cabinet and government in its wisdom designated the Agricultural and Rural Development Authority as the food security agent for the nation. ADA grows through 3 systems. First, ADA grows on its own estates. So, for example, in this past season, 2,500 hectares was put on ADA estates, the 24 or so estates, and we hope that by 2030, they will be able to do 25,000 hectares, all irrigated. ADA also, there were 460 irrigation schemes on 26,000 hectares. About 341 are operational and functional and growing under an ADA scheme under the new Vision 2030 accelerator model, where we've created these irrigation schemes as business units. So they produce on 13 to 19,000 hectares, and they are contracted by ADA, and they deliver to the GMB. But ADA also goes further and contracts directly with farmers, communal A1 and A2, under a joint venture framework. So this delivery, although denoted ADA, represents many sectors and many farmers, and government is very comfortable with this model. There is also that 10% that of the 190% to make that individual farmers or self-finance farmers deliver into. So government is comfortable with that model. It crowds in the private sector, but also ensures that we have a working corporate model for the strategic grain reserve for that rainy day, and also for stabilization of prices should there be a need. Then the second aspect relates to Chen Williams, and he's thinking about what crops we will concentrate on in view of the projected El Nino. In fact, government has put in place a response plan that is robust, that is taking into cognizance that, yes, we now know that there will be an El Nino, the magnitude of which we only know after the Southern Africa meteorologists meet in August. But we must prepare now for the worst and hope for the best. But this is also compounded by the geopolitical developments, as you can see, events in the Strait of Hormuz that will lead to disruption of fertilizer or fuel, and perhaps elevated prices for both fertilizer and fuel. So that is the context in which we are planning. Based on that, government has come up with 6 strategic interventions. The first of which is an enhanced strategic grain reserve. So we will accelerate purchase of the strategic grain reserve. We will also encourage households to keep more grain, and we will prioritize collection of this 10 kg gratitude. And the second is climate smart agriculture acceleration. And we'll do that through 2 ways. First, it is the Pfumvudza Intwasa, which is the sustainable intensive conservation model, but also through irrigation. That must be complemented by agroecological tailoring. What is grown by a farmer is determined by the region, not what they want. So we will know in August whether region 2 will behave like region 3. And on the basis of that, we will then do the agroecological tailoring. But the encouragement is that those that are in region 3, 4, and 5 must do more traditional grains, and we've seen an increase in the production of traditional grains. We are also targeting as government 75,000 hectares at least of irrigated maize production across the country. So this is the twin approach. Just to complete the other factors, we are also looking at the livestock mitigation plan. We are looking at a new financing architecture for this summer season. We are also looking at imports that could be enhanced at household level, but also at commercial level. And lastly, we are looking at government and sector-wide enhanced coordination, early warning, and capacity building for farmers and extension workers. Thank you, Chair.
Let us move to the last round of questions. Yes.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. My name is Latro Nyangu from Zitten Prime. My question goes to Dr. Masuka. I'm kind of seeking maybe a clarity, looking at the figures that we've witnessed, like for example, tobacco having over $700 million. Is it, are we at a stage that we can say that the country is pocketing that as profit, or maybe it's forking out more out of the country? Maybe if you can clarify on that.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. Sifiso Mapranga from ZFM Stereo. Okay, my question goes to Honorable Minister Gary. Just a follow-up to understand on how far has the government gone in terms of data capturing for those returnees who are in need of health treatment and medication. For example, for those under HIV and AIDS treatment, and what is our capacity as a country? And my second question goes to Minister Masuka. The 2026-2027 is characterized by a dry spell. That is the much anticipated El Nino. What are some of the measures that is the government is actually considering to put in place, particularly for the golden leaf, considering that the market this year was paying out low to farmers because of international buyers demanding for high quality tobacco? Now that we will be facing an El Nino drought next year. What are some of the measures that are being put in place? Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I'm Richmond Siakurema, Radio Zimbabwe. Incidentally, part of what I wanted to ask has just been asked by him, but all the same, I wanted to talk about the manner or the time that South Africans gave to have Zimbabweans leave their country to come back to Zimbabwe. They gave a very short notice. I don't know whether our medical institutions are coping with the volumes of returnees that require medical attention in Zimbabwe, considering we already had our own challenges and the returnees came all of a sudden. So the question is on capacity again, like the other speaker has just said.
Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. The first question is directed to Honorable Masuka from Latu Onyango.
Thank you, Chair. With your concurrence, let me just deal with the two, and I note some telepathy between Richmond and the one also for El Nino, because he says, I wanted to ask as well a similar question. But they all relate to tobacco. And the first one is about these exports that at very firm, an average of $5.94 a kilogram, just over 720 million exported, so, and largely to the Far East. And these are truly reflecting of the value that we are generating from our semi-processed tobacco that we are exporting. And there was an analysis conducted, and we saw that ahead of the tobacco value chain transformation plan that was prepared by government, an analysis by the RBZ was done. And we noted that for every dollar that is invested in the country in tobacco, Zimbabwe retained 12% of that, and the balance are left, which is why we said in terms of the Tobacco Value Chain Transformation Plan 1, which was launched in 2021, one of the aspects was localization of financing of tobacco in order to retain more of the value. And the other aspect was to do more value addition and beneficiation so that we don't export jobs and value. So yes, there is we retain some of the value, but the bulk of that, of course, goes into repayment of the loans because the tobacco is financed from offshore arrangements, which is why we would like to localize going into the future. Then the other one relates to the impact of the perceived El Nino on tobacco. Maybe you can start by looking and analyzing the 2025-2026 season, which had very good rains, and then a seasonal break 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks, and then some rain. That actually was not a very good tobacco season. So the quality much lower, tobacco with more spot, and as you have more rain, the leaf quality, the leaf becomes lighter. So although you see this lower price on the auction and contract flows as a result of the supply glut, not just for Zimbabwe, but for the 5 countries that produce tobacco in Africa, and also our main competitors in Brazil and in India. So there's two twin approaches that have led to this low price that we see of $2.49 compared to as high as $3.30 last year, that there is a supply glut, but also the quality is lower this year compared to last year. And we might not be able to fulfill all the grades that we want for some of our major markets. So what we are saying is that tobacco does well in less rainfall seasons. So the expectation is that tobacco quality may be very good in the coming season. Also, if the rains are still received, it means also that the yield will be very good because tobacco does not want wet feet. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The last 2 questions are directed to Honorable Garwe, one from Pranga and the other one from Richmond. They are all related. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable
two questions have been asked, one by Mapranga, which relates to health issues, the other one by Sia Kurima, which was talking to notices of returning to Zimbabwe. This is more of a foreign affairs issue. I will relate that to Professor Morguira to deal with that. But the first question, you may want to know that His Excellency, through Cabinet, created several committees, and he also created a committee on environment, emergency preparedness, and disaster management, which is chaired by the Minister of Local Government and Public Works. In that committee, there are several ministries partaking different responsibilities, but coordinated. And the Minister of Health, through the subcommittee on health, has established a clinic at the entry point at Bedbridge, which is fully capacitated, which is manned by a medical doctor, several registered nurses, and other health personnel, fully kitted with pharmaceutical facilities, drugs, and everything. To date, that clinic has attended to 1,745 people, predominantly of minor diseases such as diarrhea as a result of the reactions to food. And no cases of cholera or any life-threatening diseases. Those with chronic diseases who may not have come back with medication are receiving medication on that same clinic. It's operating like a hospital, that clinic. So there are no issues that are life-threatening or that can cause panic in the country or at the border post. But also in the Plumtree and other smaller borders, similar facilities have been put in place. And at the reception centers in various provinces and districts, similar facilities have been activated to ensure that as people are repatriated and reintegrated into various communities, those that have got medical issues are referred to medical specialists for attention. So, but we don't have any issues as it now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sia Kurima. Sia Kurima talked about South Africans giving Zimbabwe or deadlines. I want to confirm that there are no deadlines that the South African government has given at any point to Zimbabwe or any other country. What we hear are groups outside of official channels who talk about different dates. I just want to be very clear on that matter, that in our communication with the government of South Africa and in our work, we are working on voluntary repatriation of all Zimbabweans who want to come home with the collaboration and cooperation of the South African government. Not at any point have we been given a deadline. I thank you.
Let me thank the members of the Fourth Estate for the questions and the honorable ministers for responding to those questions. We have come to the end of today's post-cabinet press briefing. Thank you.